Hi everyone, welcome back to another painting demo. In the summer, we're coming up for autumn now, but in the summer, this is going back a few weeks, so a lot of this information in this video is going to be wrong because I actually narrated it quite a few months ago. So ignore a lot of the information there regarding the videos I'm talking about. But anyway, I went out to a place called Croom Court. I live in Worcestershire in the United Kingdom, and it's just a marvellous place there to paint, and they've got this lovely stately home there, and I wanted to try and paint it in my moleskin sketchbook and do a very loose watercolour painting of it, basically. So I went out on location, and basically the video just covers me getting there, and I think I'm even having my sandwiches under a tree at one point. You might get to see a couple of minutes of that or whatever, and then I'm actually there drawing and painting Croom Court. So I hope you enjoy it. If you do, like and subscribe. Hopefully I'll be getting away sort of at the end of the year abroad to do a load of painting, so fingers crossed on that one. So we'll be doing a lot more plein air then. But anyway, this one's at the moment, this one's of Croom Court, and you can watch the rest of it now. Okay, so I'll catch you all later. Bye for now. Hi there, my name's Patrick Ley-Greaves. I've come out today for a bike ride with the intention to do some painting, watercolour painting. I'm at a place called Croom Court. I've cycled up from Worcester. I stopped on a few nice places on the way through, but I thought I'd get here and just see what there was to sketch. Nothing elaborate, nothing difficult, just to see what I can make of the scene today. I'll just show you where I am, what I'm looking at. I think that would make quite a nice painting in its own right, but I'm just surrounded by fields, and I've just come off that road there, so we'll just see what we can find to paint now. Okay, I've just settled down under this lovely tree to have myself a spot of lunch, and there's Croom Court in the distance, and afterwards I'm going to nip down to Croom Court, see if I can find a spot to do some painting. But first of all I'm going to have a little sit under the tree. It's so hot today here in the UK. Okay, here we have Croom Court. It's just a beautiful location, a fantastic building, huge grounds to walk in. I highly recommend it. So I want to have a go at sketching the house and see how that works out. Should be okay, so let's see how we get on. Okay, what I've done is I've set myself under a tree because the direct sunlight was so fierce that day. It would have been pretty unpleasant filming in the heat of the direct sun. Painting, sorry, in the heat of the direct sun. So I found myself a nice little cool place to sit under the tree. Very relaxing it was too, not many people about. But my intention for this drawing is quite a big drawing. You only see the first bit of the drawing, then we switch to the painting. My camera stopped on my battery, and I had to change my battery. So the next piece you'll see in a minute is me actually painting this scene. But anyway, it gives you an idea of how I tackled it. Now, there was a bit of perspective to concern myself with on this one. You had the building was on like on a 3/4 view, so you had to get the perspective right. And I was sat down, so my eye level was quite low, and I was looking up slightly at the building. So there are a few things there that you have to sort of think about when you start drawing. And what I'm using there is the moleskin sketchbook. It's the A4 one. It's a fantastic sketchbook, and I highly recommend it. It takes watercolour very well, and like I say, it will take pen or pencil very well too. And you can, if you need to use an eraser to rub out, you can use it. They're great books, and they're really affordable. They're not silly money. I think the A4 book is under £20. So it's great. So the most important thing is when you're actually doing a drawing like this is you don't change from being very, very loose to very tight halfway through, because if you do, it will look like you've got two different drawings in one. So when you start the actual drawing process, you just got to keep going in the same vein really, all the way through. And this really suited me because it was quite a long drawing, quite a lot to draw, and I had to be back home, as I had quite a way to cycle to get back home, so I didn't have that long. So I kept the drawing really loose, and also by keeping it loose, because it was quite a difficult thing to draw, it also took the pressure off. And that's what it's about, because you've got added pressures from people when you're outside painting. So you want to minimise the pressure on yourself as much as possible, and by painting very simply and just looking for the overall shapes, not worrying about ornate details and things like that, it will make life a lot easier. So I just kept working my way around. I go across the double pages and complete the drawing. So in a moment it's going to switch to the painting, where I use my easel for painting, because I prefer to paint standing up. Okay then, I'm all ready to paint. I've got my little easel I can take on my bike with me. I'll do another video at some point, if those are interested, if anyone's interested, of what my little setup for painting outside. I use just a camera tripod, a very cheap one I pick up at a car boot sale, and I attach a board to it that I can lay my book on, and it means I can stand up and paint, and it just makes life so much easier. Takes away all that sitting down and getting numb backside after a while, don't you? And fidgety. So when you're stood up, you can walk around, and you can, I don't know, it just frees you up, frees your shoulders up for painting and all that sort of thing. Makes life easier. But yeah, so it's just a bit of MDF board on top of a camera tripod fixed with one of these little screws, a camera that goes into, like the same screw that fits into the bottom of a camera, and then I screw the tripod plate directly into that. Works brilliantly, and I can carry it easily on my bike with my painting stuff, and even in a rucksack if I'm going out for the day. So it works really well. Get back to the painting then. So that was the drawing. You can see it's very loose. I made a bit of a mistake on the roof, but because I was, you can see I've hatched it in quite dark. I got the angles wrong on it, and I had to sort of just run with it because it was too late to go back. And that's the problem when you commit with pen. Initially, no pencil. You know, once you make a mistake, you've got to live with it, and you've got to fit it into the drawing. Don't let it put you off from completing. Don't think, oh, I'm going to stop. Just keep going, and 9 times out of 10, it won't really look that bad. So just run with it, basically. I'm using my Winsor & Newton Cotman paints here. And I just had 1 or 2 brushes with me. I don't take many when I go out because there's too much choice. Then again, that causes the same problem of fiddling and stuff. So I just take a couple of brushes with me. But like I say, I'll do a video shortly of my plein air setup in a controlled environment, and I'll explain the brushes I take and the equipment I take, and I'll show you how lightweight it is and how it all fits in. And it's just fantastic. But yeah, I was going to keep this really simple, and I'm just using the Cotman watercolour paints, and I'm using the split primary palettes, 2 yellows, 2 reds and 2 blues. There was plenty of colour there to capture everything in this scene. I didn't need to worry about having all sorts of colours in my palette. I knew I could achieve everything with what I had. And I just started laying down the first wash, which was a mix of cadmium yellow, a touch of permanent rose, or cadmium red, one or t'other. It really wouldn't matter, and a touch of blue. I think I went with the permanent rose because it's more transparent and it will give you a brighter colour. So the permanent rose, and like I said, a cadmium yellow, and just a touch of blue to it, just to sort of make it more towards the yellow ochre, raw sienna wash colour. Not quite as deep as raw sienna, but... So So once I got that down, I was home and dry really, because this is just a bit like colouring in when you're a kid in a book, isn't it? Once you've got a drawing down, you can actually just you just basically got to fill it in. The pressure's off. When you know your drawing is sort of pretty much right, you haven't got to worry anymore. As long as you get your colours right and you use warm colours, and to pick the weather of the day wherever you are, it's pretty plain sailing. So at this point, I just kind of like blocked in the building and put the grass in. And for that, I just used a bit of lemon yellow and cobalt blue, maybe just a touch of red in it, just to dull it down a little bit. I went with it. It's quite simple. So now that first wash was in, it was all pretty straightforward really. I was just putting in the roofs with a little bit of warm and cool colour, just to indicate the slates. And then I had the fun bit to do. The next bit was going to be really, really fun, because I was going to be adding all the shadows. And from the photograph you can see there's lovely shadows underneath the eaves of the building and around the sort of the top third where there's a ledge that runs round, and in that lovely doorway where all the columns were. There were some really, you can't see it very well on the photograph, but there were some really, really warm colours in there. Nice glowing colours. That I don't think, I imagine it's sandstone or some kind of stone. I'm not sure what it's made from the building. But the shadows were glowing. It's unfortunate you can't see it here as much. So I really wanted to accentuate that. But first of all, I had to do the windows. And for that, I just used a little bit of, I think it was something like ultramarine and a touch of cadmium red. And I just worked round and blocked all the windows in. I didn't paint them in painlessly, like do little square panes, okay? Because the whole painting was loose and the drawing was loose, I had to keep it the whole feeling the same. So what I did was I just literally splashed the paints into the windows, and I didn't try and paint. You can see how fast, I know this is sped up slightly, but I really did work fast. And to paint all the windows in, it probably took no more than, gosh, I don't know, a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes. I just didn't try to paint too accurately, because if I'd started to try and paint the windows carefully at this stage, it wouldn't have fitted in with the drawing. So it's all about keeping that same theme running through. Then I had the nice bit to do, which was start painting the shadows under the eaves. Using a little Isobay mop brush for that. Works really well. And that was what was going to actually help the painting come to life. Now, if you're watching this on a mobile phone or something, then it probably won't look that great. But when you actually watch it on a laptop or a bigger PC or something, you can actually see it a bit better. So yeah, it was all pretty straightforward from here, really. I put the blue in the windows, that part of the building, and then worked around with the shadows. I was really keen, I was impatient to get on with the shadows, so I stopped there with the windows. Probably should have carried on, but I wanted to get the shadows in because I knew that was going to start making the painting itself come together. Anyway, just while we're talking about, I'll let that carry on running. A bit of a heads up for my patrons. I did an interview about a week ago with Liron Yankonskyi. I don't know how you pronounce it. I'm sure it's Yankonskyi, something like that. But Liron, most of you will know, I'm sure, who runs a fantastic YouTube channel, and I highly recommend you watch him. He's a lovely guy. He comes from Israel. He lives in Tel Aviv, but he's been interviewing YouTube artists. He's done a couple so far. Anyway, yeah, he contacted me about 3 weeks ago and asked me if I'd be interested in doing this interview, and I thought, I'm not that great at talking about things, but I'll have a go. And we had about a 2-hour conversation prior to the interview where he asked me lots of questions that he could sort of find out about me and my painting history and all that sort of thing. And then one evening we sat down and did the interview, and it went really well. I'm sure, it's quite an interesting. It was interesting watching it back before he gave me a copy to watch back before obviously it goes live. It's going live on Thursday, this coming Thursday. The gosh, what's Thursday? Is it the 5th of July? And I was quite pleased with it. Really, I think it gave a fair representation of what I love about painting, what I don't love, what I can actually do and what I can't do, and it gave me that opportunity to explain to people, you know, who I am and what I am and what I do. So I will post it in Patreon and I'll post it on YouTube, so it's there. I think because you know, for me, it's interesting. Sorry, but you know, it sounds like I'm blowing my own trumpet a bit, but I don't mean to be. I'm just thinking that you might find it because it's quite encouraging. Because I had a very sort of my start to painting wasn't sort of kind of orthodox, I don't think. I kind of started very late and didn't have a you know a normal approach to it. Maybe I don't know. Perhaps I did. I don't know. But so anyway, that's just a bit of info there. It's coming up in next week, and like I say, I'll post it in Patreon and I'll post it on YouTube because obviously I agreed to later on that we'd post it on both channels at the same time. It will be released exactly the same time. So yeah, hope that will be of some interest to you. Let's get back to the painting. So I was carrying on working, as you can see, and this is where I put the lovely bright colours in here. Now, like I say, on the photograph you don't see it, and I probably have accentuated them a little bit, like you do, but I think it was worth it because I really think it adds something to the painting. You've got the lovely cooler shadows with still some orange and picking up the warmth of the stone, but you've you know, I've done it a little bit more in that archway where the columns are, behind the columns, because it was shining out quite bright. Looked beautiful. I was running out of time here now because I knew I had to get back, so I was going to get into trouble. So I was kind of dashing my way through this last piece, but I don't know, I think because the whole thing was loose and the drawing was loose, it didn't really matter. It was just a question of go for it and get it down. And I think that actually worked in my favour, really, because the drawing was so loose. Not having to worry about the painting side of things too much. Just enjoy it, really. Just relaxing and enjoying it. It was a fantastic day. It really was.